First off, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'm really excited. We have Mark from Newegg. Newegg's one of our really great partners, who's going to be is going to be talking a little more about having a successful Q4 season and what you can do to kind of handle that and some really cool things they've learned along the way. So I'm really excited for him to talk to you. And then, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about shipping, but we're going to go ahead and let Mark mostly drive that for you. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to have some takeaways from last year's holiday season. We're going to talk about the playbook a little more and finding success on Newegg and the strategy and tactics for that. And then from there, we'll go ahead and open up a Q&A session with everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and from there, pass it over to Mark and let him take over for us.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for just joining. And again, thank you, Cubby, for the introduction. Just a brief bio on myself. I've been a resident of Southern California basically all my life, different parts of San Diego, Orange County, and LA as well. Been doing e-commerce for quite some time now, from a brand's perspective, from a reseller, and now onto an e-commerce platform, or a marketplace platform, I should say. And of course, on my free time, I do enjoy playing and coaching a number of sports. I love sports in general. So just a quick bio about myself. I believe Cubby has briefly gone over some of the things we'll be talking about today, which will primarily be focusing on just the takeaways and what we can how we can use those takeaways as we plan for the Q4 2017 season, and then finding success on Newegg specifically. So we'll be covering some of the strategies and tactics that will help your business grow, and we'll save some time for Q&A as well. And so during the presentation, please feel free to send your Q&A, send your questions over, and we'll do our best to answer as many of those questions during that time. All right. So let's jump right into it. The biggest thing here is, first thing that we want to look at is, what did we learn in the 2016 holiday? And specifically, what did Newegg learn about itself and how it relates to many of you sellers that are on the line? And one of the things that we want to mention is Newegg as a whole, we did see growth from third-party sales. So we're seeing that business for us continue growing, which is good. And specifically for Q4, we saw that a point up from 40% to 41%. So that in of itself is just good news. And the biggest takeaway from what we've gathered from ourselves is that we're seeing a number of different categories, emerging categories growing. Specifically, we're finding ourselves continuing to maintain our stronghold in the consumer electronics and computer hardware, but also we're expanding into other areas such as gaming, drones, smart home electronics, even personal car transportation, dash cams, head units. So we're seeing our growth in the tech space really extend to other areas that involve tech, and hence why we are becoming a marketplace for anything tech. As more and more products get integrated with technology, we are expanding into those categories, and we're seeing our demographic really pick up on that as well. We also learned that a lot of the major Black Friday sales started weeks before Thanksgiving, and we're right in the brink of it right now. And so the webinar is timely for that. And so hopefully we'll be able to address some of the things you guys should be doing in the meantime up to Thanksgiving. And the other thing we learned, again, is as shipping, there's greater confidence in retailers to ship on time. More and more people are accustomed to shopping closer to the Christmas holiday timeframe. So be mindful of that. And one of the things overall we're seeing, eMarketer is projecting about 15.8% growth for holiday 2017 for online sales. So that's in a nutshell for us. We should be, for many of us, we should be seeing that, hopefully seeing that success Q4, provided that we plan carefully. And that's really the crux of this webinar, is how do we get in front and how do we get ready and stay diligent throughout the season. All right, so what are the table stakes? First, we have to start off with the dates. really, here are some of the key holiday dates that each of you should be mindful of. We kind of note this as like the C5 dates, which is starting Thanksgiving. This is basically what kicks off the holiday shopping. But like I had mentioned before, holiday shopping is probably starting now, and it's probably taking the form of research and then just indexing and taking a look at what consumers are probably finding out what they want, what price points, where are they going to go, et cetera, et cetera. And so we'll address that in the upcoming slides. After the C5 days, we see that this is really the window of opportunity between November 23rd through the 17th of December. And this is because we're in the thicket of shopping. Then you have the last minute shopper where shipping is going to be a crucial component in order to meet those orders on time. And then you finally have the year-end clearance where you can clear out your rack and go from there. The biggest thing here that I do want to make note of is, and this will be a running theme throughout the presentation, is free shipping is a must now. It's no longer one of those things that it's a perk we can just add on. This is really one of those things that consumers are expecting now, especially during the holiday season. So consider that. You can see the stat line there. And then you also want to just look at how you can manage expedited shipping. 2 days, 3 days seems to be the standard now. And so look to marketplaces and other partners that can support you in that endeavor. So be mindful of that. We will be circling back on that point, but I do want to just lay out the table stakes, and shipping is part of that in terms of the overall calendar and planning. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and actually run a poll first so that you can understand how you typically shop, and then you can kind of plan your way backwards, because you'll understand what consumers are doing just based on what you're doing as well. So you should be seeing a poll here shortly. Okay, and I'll give you guys about a minute or so just to go ahead and reply to that. So you should be able to see the poll, and you should read when you typically do your own holiday shopping. So go ahead and participate in that if you can. Personally, for me, I actually start weeks ahead, and it's part of the reason is because I'm in the industry. So I start weeks ahead. I take a look at what's going on, where I can find the deals and whatnot, and then try to get my shopping done and try to avoid the crowd. So many of you actually do agree. About 60% of you are staying weeks ahead. 20% of you are months ahead, so good for you. There's actually a tactic that I'll share with the folks online as to how you can market and merchandise for those folks who do months in ahead and weeks ahead. Not many at all are doing days ahead, which is interesting there, but a lot, or 20%, are actually doing it last minute shopper. So for those last minute shoppers, think of the timeliness. That's why I've made the point of making sure that you have a shipping or a logistics infrastructure in place to meet those last minute demands. So again, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Thank you again for participating. Just to give you guys a heads up, we're going to be addressing these type of folks in the next coming slides as well. Okay. All right. So moving on, the next table stake here is the demographic. What is Newegg's demographic? As you guys are merchandising, marketing, and doing all sorts of different things to optimize your listings, you should understand the demographic here. And the real takeaway here is the majority of our customers are males, and a lot of them are, in some sense, affluent. They are capable of purchasing high-ticket priced items, but that's not to say they don't purchase low-ticket priced items as well. So they are tech enthusiasts in the sense that they will also look for different types of products that have tech embedded in them. And so one example of that is, for example, STEM. If you guys don't know what STEM toys are, they are educational toys. STEM stands for science, technology, education, engineering, and mathematics. So this is one of those things where we're seeing an emerging category as well. This is just a quick overview of the breakdown between the different types of shoppers as we categorize them. as that pops up in your screen there. And majority of you will probably be dealing with a deal-driven person. So pricing is going to be a big thing there, as many of you know. But one tip here is don't ignore the ones who are the DIYers as well, and the gamers and whatnot, because this is Black Friday, they are more willing to shop and purchase something. And so even if it's at a full pop or even a smaller discount, that's a demographic that you do want to address. And we also have finished goods buyers. So those are like the consumer electronics, the small home appliances and whatnot. And they do like the digital lifestyle, so smartwatches and whatnot. So this is just a quick breakdown of really the three main components that you're going to be dealing with are DIYers slash gamers, or even those folks that are doing customary home things, smart home tech enthusiasts. Obviously the deal-driven folks, and then you have the finished goods buyer. The B2B sector is different, as we have a different platform for that as well. All right. So we talked about table stakes in terms of knowing the calendar, knowing your deadlines, and then understanding just the behavior when it comes to the holiday shopping season. And so the next big thing here really is setting up the blocking and tackling for the success that you want to see. If you don't have the blocking and tackling, you're not going to be able to really score any sales if it's not all set up properly. And so the first thing when it comes to setting up the blocking and tackling, as we dub it here, is take a look at your portfolio. Understand what are the SKUs you want to prioritize. Are they the ones that are exclusives? Are they promotional items? So these, you have to select certain SKUs. Don't try to list everything because it's going to be pretty time consuming trying to optimize all of it. Select, be targeted and strategic. So take a look at what brands and retailers are pushing out as it relates to your product. Take a look at their designs and creatives as a source of inspiration as well when you're trying to create different marketing ads, for example. And you also want to ensure that if you have exclusives or a product that you feel that the market is not well versed in, this is where you want to optimize getting it reviewed, by way of getting it reviewed. And what I mean by that is get it over to our editorial staff. We'll be happy to take a look at it and see if we can produce a review on your behalf, or get your customers to review it, because that's all user-generated content that you want to put alongside your listing. And it's really primarily addressing those folks who are doing research ahead of time. And that's one thing that you want to be mindful of, is many of the people who are doing research ahead of time is they're probably looking for products or trying to understand if this is a product that they're willing to purchase. So it might be a high ticket item, for example, or something that they're not familiar with, but they know they need. And this is where that kind of content is really gold in this sense. So we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at an example here. And this is with regards to a drone manufacturer. Maybe some of you are familiar with them, DJI. About a year ago, DJI just recently picked up their business here with Newegg, and what we found is our drone category actually was still getting some type of traffic, but it wasn't fully mature and developed. And so when DJI came on, we actually looked at their assortment, and we said, okay, look, their assortment is solid, it fits, we know that the demographic is looking for, or they're interested. And so let's go ahead and implement the best practices with them and see what it looks like. It turns out we ended up being able to build out the entire drone category because of these best practices. And so we're going to use them as a case study for some of the points that I mentioned earlier. So the first thing with your content listing, this is the big piece here, is optimize your product content listing. This is the window in which consumers are going to see you and your product. And so if you don't put your best foot forward, the likelihood of them returning or ever coming back, it's going to be reduced. So you want to be sure that you are presenting your best storefront or your best product content listing. And what that looks like first is make sure you have those high resolution photos there. That's a big component. As people are looking at the photos, they want to take a look at it. Put more than one as a suggestion. Don't put just one. A simple white background should suffice. That, as example here, is displayed here. The one thing that also in the second box is detailed product title, and you also want to have a detailed bullet description. And here is where in the title you want to obviously name the brand, the model, and main feature that you find is the most significant. And then in the bullet point description, which is the area below the sold by DJI official store and shipped by Newegg portion, this is where you can list all the other features pertinent to that product listing. This is where the crux of the information is going to be at. And then you see that third box there is, again, we highlight, if you're offering free shipping, we highlight that because we know it's a necessity at this point during the holidays. So this is just by way of a reminder. This is basically additional things that can take place within the content listing. The rest of the listing is in the overview. And so some of you are asking, well, how do I implement some of this high-res images and whatnot? And one of the things that Newegg is offering is actually A+ content services. So we can actually go ahead and optimize the content on your behalf, where we can just take the assets and build out the content that way for about $60 if that's something that you are in need of. And especially if you're only doing it for certain SKUs, I highly recommend it. That's because we can quickly do it. And on top of that, those assets will stay within the site, and it's engaging. The content is really engaging for that. This red box here that you see on the corner over here, this is a placement for that editorial piece that I had mentioned, where if you had a unique product that you wanted reviewed by our staff here, we can post that article here, especially when people are doing research. It's just nice to be able to click into an article after I've read an overview section, for example, because I want to learn more about it. And so we do that for listings solely for educational purposes also. Okay. The next slide here is an example of another service that sellers can take advantage of, is within the A+ content as well. And here is a lot of that information that I showed previously requires the consumer to scroll down into the overview section. But what if we can present a lot of that information, at least the relevant ones and important ones that drive conversion, within the top part of the page or above the fold or within the image? And this is something that we've incorporated. Basically, what you can do here is it's touch points. And so within the image, you can insert videos or additional graphics or infographics and whatnot, and you can place it here. And then you can actually, a consumer, if they're looking for more information or they don't want to scroll down, they can select one of the touch points. In this case, I selected a video, and then they can play it. And then this is all above the fold, and they're getting that relevant content before they even have to scroll down and capture and try to find where's that editorial piece or where's that video that I'd like to see, or what are consumers saying. It can be housed all up here. So that's an additional option that we encourage as you are optimizing your content listing. Okay, so before we get to the next section, this next poll will actually go ahead and set us up for that. So you guys should shortly see it here. All right, and the biggest thing here is we want to understand as a group here, what we can do for you is what major hurdles do you face when selling on a marketplace during the holiday season? This is huge, and I'm sure a lot of you are probably chiming in and selecting different ones here. Marketing exposure is the biggest thing, and so what we're going to try to address, and as you guys respond here, and I'm taking a look at it and providing the commentary there. A lot of you are seeking additional marketing exposure, and so the next few slides are actually going to talk about how you can garner and secure those placements in hopes of converting. Some of you have inventory management. That's another thing that we'll briefly discuss as well. So I'll leave this up for the next 10, 15 seconds here, and this will actually catapult us into the next section as we address some of the things that you guys are speaking of here. All right, so again, it looks like the majority of you are seeking additional marketing exposure with the help of inventory management. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and close that. and then we'll go ahead and jump right back into the presentation here. Okay. All right. I believe some of you guys are still seeing the poll here, so let me go ahead and close it. Okay, cool. All right. So as I mentioned, so how am I going to get more exposure? And this is what we're going to cover here. So we kind of, page 4 of our playbook really is, if you're being seen, it equals, if you're a sports fan, more red zone attempts, more shots on goal, more attempts at scoring, however, more attempts in converting in this case. And so exposure is huge, especially in the holidays, as you guys have indicated. And so things that we actually tell our sellers are, hey, do you guys have exclusives? Do you have certain products that our consumers would be interested in, but aren't really well educated? This is what we're finding. We'll kind of share that data with you. And you want to consider getting those products in our hands so that our team, our video staff team, can review it. And that's the biggest thing, is because more content is more knowledge, and knowledge is power in this case. And so more content, the better. And this is really going to help those folks who are searching for products earlier, and they need to do that kind of research to familiarize themselves so they feel comfortable when they purchase that type of item. The next thing is, take a look at your own social media handles and your outlets, and start leveraging them early and often. Test out, see if you can run a brief promotional offer on certain products you think would be selling well during the holidays. And you'll find out that if it's not engaged, or customers aren't engaging, maybe that's not the right product. But the point is, if you're able to do this early, then it basically tips your hat, and you're able to understand what products are consumers really looking for via the engagement. So test that out, be targeted with your social media campaigns. And we also have our own social media campaigns that you may want to consider participating in to see what the receptiveness of your product is like. And so you want to get that done early, as soon as possible, so it helps you plan, oh, well, I found out this product was huge, it was well received, let's start trying to push this out on the Newegg platform. The next thing, as you guys had talked about, is inventory management. So one thing here is, within your account, within Seller Portal, you're able to allocate your inventories. You can kind of manage what you guys want to do there. Also, so check back with the portal regularly to manage where that inventory is at, as the portal is able to do that. So the big thing here is you want to secure enough quantities based on whatever campaigns you're running and the duration. And so that's why I had mentioned in the couple slides back that if you mark your calendars and you understand, okay, have I pushed out the reviews, I pushed out and tested my social content, see what people are doing, I've seen what Newegg is able to support, I can secure X amount of inventory for this campaign, and you can manage it that way. And Seller Portal makes that easy for you. The other thing you do want to be mindful of is you want to continue offering that competitive pricing. It doesn't always have to be, you don't have to lowball, but you want to take a look at what your competitors are doing across the board, simply because you don't want to just outprice yourself and be out there. So be competitive. Once you guys get all of that set up, then the additional exposure comes into play. And like I had mentioned, coordinate the email campaigns. So get in touch. An email was sent out to the sellers. Get in touch with your merchandiser, your account manager, or even your category manager, and that's your dedicated team there really, and coordinate, okay, hey, here's the promotional schedule that you guys have sent out. What email campaigns can I be a part of? What additional exposure can I get through those campaigns and those channels? And you want to secure that. We say we start with the email campaigns because this is another way of figuring out how well received your product will be should you promote it in the email campaign. We say email campaign first because that's where we're finding most of our customers are really engaging with us, and we're seeing higher conversions within our email campaigns. And so this is hitting a targeted group. And by extension, if we see that, okay, a certain product is performing well, on this email campaign. And in addition to the different marketing channels we push this out through via social or anything else there. The next thing then is, okay, merchandiser, Newegg merchandiser, I've seen the performance. It did great. What can I do now to secure homepage placements for these critical C5 days or the days that are leading up to the holidays? How can I secure that homepage placement? Your success on the email campaigns will serve as a way of validating that your product is ready for the homepage and all of its campaigns that are being placed there. So that's kind of like the roadmap that we try to encourage sellers to take as it relates to just garnering more and more exposure. Okay. All right, and I believe Cubby here has a few things to mention as it relates to shipping. So I'm going to go ahead and just hand off at least this portion for him to speak to. So Cubby, feel free to chime in.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, some really, really great, tips and tricks there. I think one of the coolest things was hearing that you could actually have, you guys submit like product for like editorials for you to do something like that. And Josh actually had a question on that. We'll make sure that get answered, and so do the questions on reviews. I just wanted to bring that up real quick. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit now that we're kind of working through, making sure you're successful the holiday season. Some of the things you can do from the shipping end of things. And one of the most important things that I can actually stress is know your deadlines. Your customers are going to be placing orders with the expectation that they'll make it there by a certain date, which is totally reasonable. But you have to know what service to use and also what that service is going to cost you. Luckily, we've made this really handy dandy holiday shipping deadline, and you can find that at shipstation.com/holidays. And you can pull that up there, and it gives you USPS, FedEx, UPS, all the major carriers that you typically use. And you can actually see when the shipping deadlines are for each of their major services. So I highly recommend you check that out. And it'll just make it way easier when you're trying to make sure you're getting stuff to someone on time. Or you're, promoting your products outside, like order by, such and such date, and we'll make sure that it's there for the holiday season. So it's really nice to know that ahead of time. The other thing I can recommend that's really huge that I've seen really change a workflow for our users is a dedicated, organized workspace. Having a space where after you pick your orders, you go and pack, tape up, label, and creating a workflow for yourself really saves you a ton of time. I don't know how many people out there have ever, had to do like a small home improvement project or fix something on a car, but you keep forgetting where you set down like your hammer or your wrench, and you're always looking for it, even though it's right around you, you can never exactly remember where you placed it and how much time that takes up. Similar here. The thing is, you're kind of racing against the clock. So to make sure that your users are staying happy and you're staying sane, this is a really big one. On top of that, staying on top of orders. Having the dedicated and organized workspace will definitely do that. But make sure you're constantly updating your orders to have the newest ones in there and seeing where you're actually at every morning, and before we may be closed to assess where you're at. So we started the day here, at lunch we were here, and end of the day we're here. We got out 95% of the orders from today. We'll have a few that came in afterwards tomorrow morning. No big deal. But staying on top of your orders is huge. Trying to play catch up is really hard, especially with the holidays. But in case you do fall behind, there are two things that I can recommend for you that'll really help, which is scheduling pickups. So having your carrier come and grab those packages from you instead of taking them to the actual carrier yourself. So much time saved right there. If you're using ShipStation, you can, schedule USPS to pick your packages up the next business day. And that's really, really nice. If you're using FedEx or UPS, you can schedule that over the phone with them. Or if you have a standard pickup, you already know how that works. The other thing is, too, automating the basics. Even if you're brand new to ShipStation, you're not sure where to start or how to get, up and running. Doing a few simple things like automating which packing slip to use. If it's something as simple as if it weighs less than a pound, ship it first class. Things like that can, save you just, a few seconds, a few minutes on each and every order. But that really adds up throughout the holiday season. So if you can cut, an hour or two of just making selections out of your workflow each day, and you're having someone come and pick up your orders for you, you're going to be saving so much time just doing that, which would be really, really huge for you during the holiday season. The other nice thing about that is, too, if you follow these steps, the other really great thing is since it is Newegg, and we'll be updating your orders the second that you actually ship them out, it'll actually help you maintain that rating you have within their platform for getting your orders out on time and making sure that you're maintaining your own internal rating yourself too, because we're updating that tracking info, carrier info, things like that directly back to them instantaneously, so you don't ever have to worry about that either. So overall, it's just a really great way to manage it. Yeah, and so that's pretty much the tips and tricks I have. And like I said, you can find that holiday shipping deadline. It's just a PDF. Download it, print it out, stick it at your printing station, and that's just shipstation.com/holidays. So I'll go ahead and hand it back to Mark from here. But if you guys have any questions, we'll be hanging around during the Q&A, and you can ask those then.
All right, thank you. And yeah, as Cubby had mentioned that shipping on time, as we mentioned, is a big deal because in addition to just making your consumers happy, you also are being graded, and that does affect your seller rating within Newegg here. And so why that's important and why it's important for you to maintain a healthy seller rating is because it also factors into how you could potentially win the buy box. And so plenty of people have asked, so how do I win the buy box? That's one component of the buy box algorithm that we have here. And so with that being said, do continue using their services to help you guys meet those deadlines. In addition to that, we also had focused on additional exposure and what we're doing there to help you guys. One of the things that we're shifting into is now we're offering a tiered membership program with Newegg Elite Seller. And one of the big differences here between just what your standard listing is and between the professional enterprise folks here is you get discounts on different programs as well. You'll be opted into a Premier Seller program, which is made up of consumers that are similar in a sense to Prime members, where they are regulars when it comes to shopping on Newegg, and so they're looking for those exclusives. You'll be able to target certain campaigns specifically for them. Additional marketing exposure, which I'll show in the next slides between the premium seller store and whatnot, you'll see that. But one of the biggest differences here is with the enterprise now, we are offering this post-purchase. And so in the event that a consumer purchases something in the beginning of November, let's say it's a drone, right? And you have the ability now as a seller to target and reach out to them again and say, hey, we have now a promotional offer on additional controllers, drone controllers, or in this case, a big hot commodity is the additional batteries or propellers or any other accessories. And so that's another way to personalize that message and target it to a consumer that's more likely to convert, as opposed to having to blast this out as a wider promotion, for example. And so you're able to target specifically those purchasers, for example. And so those are some of the things that we are offering with this new membership program. So you guys can definitely ask questions about that following the webinar. And so, like I had mentioned, here we're going to just share some screen caps of what it looks like if you opt in for that. So, like I had mentioned, the premium storefront here, and this is you're basically merchandising, and we're going to be driving a lot of that traffic to that store within the campaigns. Getting it reviewed by our editorial staff, as you can see here in the middle. We also do video reviews as another component of driving content, and then we'll post that into our own social channels as well. And so we're hitting all different fronts to ensure that your product gets seen. Like I had mentioned earlier, here's an example of some of the email campaigns that your product may fall under. We cover a wide range of categories, like I had mentioned. So your product could be under a general merchandise, consumer electronics, or even automotive. And one of the things that's neat about this campaign is it's monthly. So these are reoccurring, and you can continually submit into these campaigns and then track your performance. And then once you feel that there's really a big home run hitter there, then you can go ahead and start figuring out homepage placements. And how do I gain that, which is the next slide up here, is within the homepage, as you can see, there is a shell shocker, the daily deals, the spotlight, all these different banners that live on the site are all the different ways you can coordinate homepage placement. And these are high premiums, and we do look at those performances and the product, and we factor in different things your merchandiser can share as you guys are coordinating that front in that campaign. And so that's why you want to ensure that you're being targeted and strategic with what products you push out. All right, so I know we've covered quite a bit here. So really practically, what are the next steps that you need to take? Review your own 2016 performance. What did you learn? What products did you find performing well? Then you want to figure out, okay, what's been trending this year by do your own research. Take a look at what your competitors are doing on different marketplaces, for example, brands and retailers to get a feel. And you want to select the products that you want to promote based on that kind of research. Then once you figure that out, make sure you're optimizing the product contents listings. That's why we had mentioned that don't try to put everything up. If you're going to optimize, make sure that you optimize your best products forward and then go from there, because you'll find more success doing it that way. And then you can always circle back into those other listings as time permits. Optimize your storefront. Like I've mentioned, we have a number of tools to help you guys do that as well. And then you want to consider your fulfillment arrangements. Get that inventory in early so that when that campaign kicks off, you're not left in dust wondering, oh, do I have enough inventory? Did I secure it? Is it going to arrive on time? It's already there. It's secured. Let's go. And then that's one of the services that we are able to offer as well. And in the meantime, as you're setting all of that up, coordinate those promotional campaigns with your category or merchandiser team, because they'll help you plan out your email, your paid marketing, your social media, and your homepage strategy as well. And we can certainly help with that. And so those are the major takeaways that I want to just share with you. Those essentially were like the tactical roadmaps that you guys can take. Select the right SKUs, get them reviewed if it's necessary. Make sure that you're finding out what campaigns you want to be a part of, secure that inventory, get your shipping in order so that you can make sure you're fulfilling on time, and then coordinate all the different, and then secure those campaigns via just coordinating with your merchandiser here. And so at the time right now, here's just a contact page. As we're fielding the different questions, I'll try to pull out as many as I can here, and I'll try to address as much as I can. But if there are additional questions that follow, just feel free to email us, whether it's for Newegg or ShipStation. For Newegg, just ensure that you include that note in the subject line there. So that being said, I'm going to actually go ahead and table some of the questions. I know that Cubby had mentioned that Josh he sent a few questions here. So I believe the first one, as I pull it up. Okay, first question is, how do we submit our product for editorials? Really, it's pretty simple. You just go ahead and find out who your category manager is or your merchandiser, and you go ahead and tell them, okay, hey, this is the product I have. This is what I can do. And then I believe they'll be sending you a form of some sort because it's standardized now. And you can submit that product over, and then they'll actually take a look at it and review and then speak to you about additional things that you want to do. And so they're pretty flexible with that. It's really a one-to-one in the sense that you are speaking and coordinating with your team, and they can advise you if that's a product that should be reviewed or shouldn't based on what data they have in the back end. So that's one way of doing it. And And then I believe the second part you have asked is how do we get additional product reviews on Newegg? I'm assuming this is in terms of consumers. And so one way, so again, we're doing this in an honest way here is we actually let, there's an email that goes out to those who purchase the product asking them to continue writing a review for that product. So in a sense, we don't pay for reviews. We have them look at it. We have them, being the consumers, take a look at the product that they bought and then encourage them to do so. Another way to remind them is if you opt in for the elite program, in this sense, if you opt in to be a professional or enterprise seller, you can take advantage of those different ways of sending emails specifically to them by way of post-purchase and indicating even generic thank you emails are sent out, and you can manage that, asking for a review as well. And so there are different ways to reach out and to ensure that they get those reviewed. Another question that was just fielded was what additional steps do I take? What else can I do as Q4? I get this commonly asked questions. What else can I do on top of what you're suggesting? Stay on top of it. That's why being organized, as Cubby had mentioned as well, being organized with just all the different things that are going on. Q4 is going to be chaotic, so being organized is like the biggest thing here. And staying on top of just assessing each campaign and saying, hey, this did well. What other products, or can we replicate this again in a different campaign, for example? So assessing the success of your campaigns and then trying to secure additional marketing. So one of the things that I advocate is if you're a brand, in this case, continue looking for banner exposure that is across different channels. So you want to be sure that you're hitting homepage. There's a homepage banner. There's a banner on your store. There's a banner on emails. You're able to secure 1 or 2 placements on social, for example, because through time, even beyond Q4, you'll be able to build that brand equity over a course of time, and that's real estate. That is gold in that case. For a reseller, making sure that your best foot forward is within your store, meaning you're optimizing your store, making it easier for consumers to navigate through the different products that you're listing, and that you're featuring your best products at the very top. And then on top of that, if you do have certain products that you feel comfortable with getting reviews, that's another way. So you just want to enrich your listing as much as possible. And so those are the things I would encourage sellers. Just be on top of it, assess as much as you can, and then regularly communicate with the team here, because we have a dedicated staff, which is unique compared to other marketplaces. You can actually pick up the phone, give us a call, and there'll be a human on the other side that can help you. And so we're really proud of that. We're able to help you guys during this Q4 season. And so that's just one of the tips that I want to encourage before we close it out here. So that's basically all the questions I got here. Again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to shoot them over to either myself or Cubby, and we'll address that. But with regards to the webinar, again, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and kick this back to Cubby. Thank you again, ShipStation, for inviting me, and hope this webinar, you guys found it very helpful.
Awesome, yeah, and thank you for taking the time to present, and of course, everyone for showing up today. It's always great to have people interacting and joining us for these types of things. I love getting to do them. I think they're super fun, and it's really nice to get to just inform you guys a little more on a personal level about some of the things that we personally do around here. And same thing with Newegg, getting to share their experiences. So yeah, I appreciate you guys taking the time today. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, but like you said, don't hesitate if you have any other questions to go ahead and shoot them over, depending on if it's ShipStation or Newegg, to those right here. But I think we should be pretty much all wrapped up from here. So I appreciate you guys joining us today. And until next time, have a good one and happy holidays.